Final moments, and George Somerville joins us. He's with the College Chaps podcast. If that has a British tilt to it, it is. I first got to know you when you were living in London. Now you're in Scotland. George, thank you. You came across the pond for this event for the second year in a row. Give us the backstory.
Well, thanks for having me on. I've admired your show for many years. I was very keen. I've watched SC Media Days for years remotely, and we actually started trying to cover it remotely a few years ago. And then the opportunity came up to come across last year to Nashville, and frankly just snatched it up to come across because, as you know, it's such an incredible event. It's a huge scale event, so it's been fantastic to be a part of it.
And little known secret, you have a lot of friends. You had many people on your podcast, and you happen to have an admirer in only the most influential man in college football, the commissioner of the SEC.
Yeah, well, I found out last year. I didn't know this was happening, but I found out last year that he listens to our podcast when he's out running. It was actually Laura Rutledge that put the commissioner into our line of sight because Laura's been a very strong supporter of the podcast from the start. And so last year in Nashville, after the commissioner's opening remarks, I was asked to take a step aside and meet him, and he then kind of let me know that he listens to the podcast on a regular basis, which was. Well, it just took us by surprise because we know that a large percentage of our followers are actually from the US. I guess we give a slightly different perspective, but we didn't think the commissioner listened to us.
So you have give us the skinny on the podcast. How often does it come out?
Well, during the season, it comes out every week. In the off-season, where we try to do it every fortnight, there's three of us. We come from different parts of the UK. I'm from Scotland, and Ollie and Alex are from the Midlands and the South. We met up through writing. We all write about college football, so it comes out once a week. We try most weeks to have a guest, and we've been very lucky to have some fantastic guests on. And the commissioner was on a few months ago, but as I said, Laura's been a strong supporter. I think she's been on maybe half a dozen times.
Really?
But we had Coach Dabo Sweeney was on, and we've really had Tom Rinaldi and a lot of your ESPN colleagues. So we've been very blessed with people coming on and giving us their time. But I think the fact that we are somewhat geographically distant, we have different accents. I think it's intriguing for people to listen to the podcast.
Well, we first came to know each other. You sent me a note, and I did what I always do when I hear from somebody from the UK. I proudly mentioned that my grandfather was born in London, and I feel like I've got a little bit. I think we all have a little blood from that area, but I feel like I've got a little more than, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, but it took me by surprise when you said that your grandfather had been. I was almost looking to start tracing back your roots. I lived in London for 10 years. I've only just recently relocated back to Scotland. I love London as a city to live in, and it's just a fantastic place to be.
I probably told you this, but my wife and I celebrate our honeymoon in London.
Fantastic.
It was. I mean, I was just riveted by the city, and there's so much there.
Well, it's been quite interesting this summer how many of your colleagues have been across for their vacation. Laura was across, and Ryan McGee was across also. They use London as a stepping stone to get across to Paris.
I'm surprised Ryan McGee got out of there through customs. Well, George, we'll have to do this again, and I did promise I'd be on the podcast.
That would be
and now
awesome.
that you shame me with Laura, I will do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.